It is just me, myself, and I on the Golden Hand today, as I have a message to deliver to all of you. As soon as I got to Egypt, I was looking in the reflection and I was no longer seeing myself. I felt haggard. I felt like I was lacking all my vitality. I was thinking, this isn't me. This isn't, I don't even recognize who this person is, but this isn't the essence of who I am. The only thing that I have is my heart. A subconscious part of me created Blue to protect Charlotte, which is my birth name. And when I became Blue, I neglected Charlotte fully. And so with all of that being said, welcome to the Deja Blu podcast, where we believe that living a life of magic can be the default. Join us each week as we playfully and authentically dive into the mysteries of life and explore what it truly means to be human. From spirituality, wellness, and all things taboo, we don't hold anything back. So without further ado, let's let the magic unfold. So I'd like to share with you mud water. Mud water has become my morning drink in replacement for coffee because it gives me that beautiful boost of energy and focus without the side effects of the jittery, ungrounded, nervous, and the energy that then crashes later. Mud water is also action-packed with our superfood mushrooms, including lion's mane and cordyceps and reishi, as well as other superfoods to support with that beautiful stream of energy and focus. What I also love about mud water is that they pay forward some of their profits into supporting mental health research through psychedelics. And as you know, if you've been a part of the Deja Blu podcast or have tuned in, that psychedelics have been a big support on my journey of self-awareness and evolution. And so I'm so excited that mud water is paying forward to support with one of the greatest pandemics on the planet, which is our mental health. So if you're interested in getting into mud water and learning more, go to the show notes and there is a link, www.mudwater.blue, and you can get $20 off your order with some free goodies. So go check it out. Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome back to another episode of the Deja Blu podcast. It is just me, myself, and I on the Golden Hand today, as I have a message to deliver to all of you from my heart to yours, wherever you are. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge that I am a completely different person than I was when I last did my podcast. The last episode that was released was the fluorescence women, and being able to sit on the sofa and to talk about what sisterhood truly means, what it means to really hold space, what it means to really genuinely show up for another person beyond what is in it for me, but truly being in a place of how can I offer and contribute to this space and the abundance that can happen when multiple people offer that mindset into the same space. And yet when I watch that podcast back, I just am amazed at how many lifetimes can happen in one or like 2.5 months. And so I definitely feel like I'm sitting here now on the other side of that podcast, on the other side of traveling the world, going on a pilgrimage and returning back to my podcast set as a completely new iteration of myself. And also there's another addition to this, is that I've learned that when you become friends with Matias De Stefano, not just friends as being like, like a passing person, but friends as in like, let's go on many adventures to many sacred sites and do many activations. Your life will never be the same again. There is a whole new level of magic that's infused when you are with somebody that sees life as one giant scavenger hunt, and every single thing that's planted in your path, whether it's an animal or a person or a restaurant or a name of a food on a menu, is a clue to some treasure that is waiting to be discovered and is also always around us. And so I was in Egypt with Matias and spent 2 weeks there, which definitely changed me on a cellular level, on a core level. He and I sat in a one-on-one ceremony / ritual / prayer where he basically became my subconscious mind and reflected everything back to me that I haven't fully integrated, which was so brutal at the time, but I trust him so implicitly that I'm like, you know what, just give it to me. Don't leave a stone unturned. And what eventually, after this beautiful experience, what he reflected back to me, well, actually, just a little bit of context. The reason why we even did this was because I was starting to get really drained. And as soon as I got to Egypt, I was looking in the reflection and I was no longer seeing myself. I felt haggard. I felt like I was lacking all my vitality. The color was being desaturated out of my eyes. I was having really negative self-talk, which is, no, I'm subject to a little bit of self-sabotage every now and then. Trust me, I'm good at it. However, this was on a whole other level. This was like 24/7 all day where I was just beating myself up in my own head. And I was thinking, this isn't me. This isn't, I don't even recognize who this person is, but this isn't the essence of who I am. The only thing that I have is my heart. And right now, the voices in my head are not connected to my heart. So what happened? And I could see it. I could see what negative self-talk does over a prolonged period of time. It eats away at one's vitality. It takes away the life out of the eyes and the brightness out of the skin. And it's this like internal dullness that just stops allowing what I mean, like the magic and the mundane to truly be alive, because this rooted self-sabotage voice that was happening. And I believe that Egypt is one of those places that are just, the energy is so strong and so potent that anything that is not fully in alignment, fully in integrity for me personally, it was being churned up to the surface. And so when I sat with Matias and he became my subconscious mind, now I'm cutting out a lot of the details here, but there's and there was a lot to it. And he reflected back to me that when I did change my name from Charlotte to Blu, I did it for multiple reasons, but one was as a defense mechanism to protect Charlotte. And I think that when you become outward facing, you are open and receptive to projections. That's just the nature of the game. It's not like if, it's when these projections come in. The larger the platform, the more projections, the more authentic or the more vulnerable what it is that you share, the more nuanced what it is that you share, the more feathers you're going to fluff up a little bit. People ruffle feathers, that's the term. You're going to ruffle feathers. So if you're somebody listening to this and you're like, I want to create a podcast, or I want to have a platform, or I want to go into the shamanic realm but simultaneously be blasting myself out to the masses through an online platform, it comes with a warning tag. And I personally have just been learning one foot in front of the other, but I didn't realize the depth in which I go, the vulnerability of the nature of my content, and then opening myself up to projections without having any protection. And so a subconscious part of me created Blu to protect Charlotte, which is my birth name and an essence of myself that I cherish so deeply. And he reflected back to me that when I became Blu, I neglected Charlotte fully. And when he said that to me, it hit me in a way that accessed a very, very sad part of myself, because I saw this little girl sitting in the corner of this room in like a ball, crying because she had been neglected, even though the first action was to protect her. What had happened is I had neglected her in the process and I hadn't checked in with her. And I mean, this really got me in an emotional place. I was like weeping. I can only name on one hand the times before in my entire life that I've wept that deeply. I mean, it was like we were snotting. Matias is like with me, and he's probably no foreigner to making people feel this kind of way. Reggie was in the room and she was witnessing the whole thing, and she came over and loved up on me. And then afterwards, Matias ran me a ritual bath, and a ritual bath was where we went to the market earlier that day, to the Egyptian market, and we picked up laurel leaves and rose petals and frankincense, and he ran me this warm bath and poured all of these the laurel leaves and the rose petals and the dried rose, and poured it into the bath and then sang into the water. And on the other side of this ritual, he asked me to get into the bath. Obviously, he wasn't in the room, but he was like, go take a bath in the water now that it's ran, and scrub your skin with these laurel leaves and these rose petals, and to sing to Charlotte and sing a song to her and offer a song and welcome her back. And so I I was singing to myself, and I felt like a little girl again, singing in the bathtub. My parents had left me unattended. I was like, just after this deep cry, I got to dote on Charlotte, this aspect of myself, and recognizing that Charlotte was my birth name, Charlotte Victoria, and she's a massive part of myself. And I have built this online presence, and Blue represents beauty, love, and unity. However, there was a gap in where I was spending that beauty, love, and unity in service to my core and my essence. And so over time, this like self-neglect and this vitality and this negativity started to get really loud. But what it did is it led me into this experience to actually return me to a place of wholeness I didn't even know that I needed, but I had deeply felt for a while. And after I came out the bath, he got like a big group hug. And ever since then, I've been in the inquiry of, what does Charlotte need? What does Charlotte want? What is the core and the essence of my being? And where did what once was the dream and the vision, where did I get caught up just getting into the motion of things, but not truly listening to that which is needed and that was most alive? And when I really was in the review of what does Charlotte need, and when I really have been in the listening of what the answer to that question is, I have really understood that Charlotte, my essence, my core, is an artist. And the podcast about 3.5 years ago started purely because I wanted to open up my voice and open up my ability to communicate what it was that I was feeling. And I thought, what best way than to push myself into the most uncomfortable thing, to create a podcast. Now, I was in the position where I didn't think a single person would be listening to what I had to say. However, it wasn't about that. It wasn't about people tuning into it. It was about that I was giving myself the accountability to sit down and articulate what it is that I've got to say, that I'm feeling on an individual level, and being able to articulate what my heart was feeling through my words and out into the world, recognizing that our words create worlds. And if I was being able to clean the chimney of my throat chakra, allowing myself to articulate what was going on, then I would be able to allow the essence of my soul out into the world in a more efficient manner. Now, fast forward 3.5 years, I have a really incredibly loyal, heart-centered, devoted audience. I have all of this fancy podcast set. I've got a fancy set. I've got epic humans that collaborate and work with me behind the scenes. And yet when I ask the question, what does my soul need right now? My soul is asking for me to be an artist again. And I have cherished my journey with the podcast. And this is not an end. This is not a farewell. This is more so a recalibration of, 'tis the season to honor Charlotte. And I have this project, which I've mentioned about on the podcast, with Lily Ashwell, and we are currently creating a deck by hand. This is 78 original pieces of artwork, as well as prayers for every card and a description of the card. So we're doing the artwork, everything by hand. There is nothing computer generated, no AI art. Every single piece of art on that card is drawn by hand, and each card takes about 2 complete days from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. to complete. So this is a massive project. And I went into this project kicking and screaming because I have an instant gratification monkey that lives inside of me. Lo and behold, short attention span, loves praise after 24 hours. And I'll tell you what, Instagram stories definitely help with my instant gratification. Also, the speed in which I make art really helps with the instant gratification, because within one day I have a mural and then I share it with the time lapse or whatever, and then I get the high from it, and then I go on to the next thing. I can't remember if there's been any time in my life outside of studying the Gene Keys, which took me 6 years, that I've ever devoted myself to anything for 9 months. Every day I eat and sleep this deck. And so I'm honoring that actually on the other side of distraction in the Gene Keys is intoxication. And so if I can be a very distracted human, I can also be ridiculously intoxicated in what's right in front of me. And I feel like I have found that thing that is going to intoxicate me until June of this year, when the project is completed. And so I am learning, as I've opened up the 40 Days of Devotion challenge again. We have thousands of people around the world. We had 2,000 people sign up for my mailing list in 48 hours just for more information around the 40 Days of Devotion Challenge. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that I've been posting on my stories, my devotional practice, and I've been posting other people's devotional practice that happen to time-lapse it. And recognizing that during a time right now where there's just a lot of external chaos, there is so much happening in the world. There is so much happening in Palestine, in Israel, in Sudan. I mean, there's just in Ukraine, in Lebanon. There is just so many different places that there is a lot that is coming up and being exposed. Everything rotten at the foundation of humanity is being exposed in a very extreme way. And yet this is also part of the process of healing. I do trust that, while simultaneously being human and witnessing in this. You can't shut down your empathy from feeling it and it creating a deep sense of grief within one's being. And at the same time, when I'm asking in front of my altar, hey Spirit, or hey God, hey Allah, Buddha, Krishna, Sky Daddy, whatever you want to call that cannot be named but created all of this. When I'm in a conversation with something greater than myself, my question is, how can I be of greatest service to the whole right now? And how can I use my platform to genuinely really be of service? I was reminded to bring people back to the altar. Like, there is a deep sense of helplessness that we are feeling. And simultaneously, if we can just find some silence within our breath for 15 minutes to start our day, we will be a significantly more peaceful person. And like I've always said, from what Peter Crone quoted, your vibrational state is your contribution to the collective. And I can tell you I'm a different person when I wake up and go on my phone and my room is a mess and I'm stumbling over things and I get this email that I don't like and I'm a little bit more short and snappy than when I actually just spend my morning in devotion. And so if that's just one thing that I can use my platform to inspire people into more of a devotional way of being that allows their nervous system to feel relaxed, and recognizing actually what it means to be successful is to how much you laugh today and how regulated your nervous system is in a world of chaos, in a world of what the fuck, in a world of everything being purged to the surface, in a social media platform where you can't not see it everywhere now. How can we bring the power back of our ability to respond and create a sense of peace so that we're like a air purifier in any space that we enter into? And so that's the 40 Days of Devotion Challenge for me. And when I go on this 40 days, I'm on day 8 now. We're the 8th day of the month. When I'm on this challenge, the challenge invites me into devotion across all platforms, across all areas of my life, devotion to my relationships, devotion to the cleanliness of my home, devotion to honoring my tasks, devotion to truth, devotion to integrity, devotion to my body, devotion to what Charlotte is asking for, devotion to this project that I'm working on with Lily. And so what's actually happening is my energy is starting to dwindle a little bit around my excitement with the podcast and my availability to being so vulnerable all the time, 7 days a week. Here I am for years on end. I think that there are natural cycles to actually be somebody that does live with their heart on the sleeve and just like rip my heart out of my chest and go, here it is. My truth and my heart is the only thing that I have. Take it or leave it. Maybe you'll even pick at it, try and chop it into a million pieces, but this is all I have right now. And this has been my entire platform and the podcast. And simultaneously, there's sometimes an important time to put it back in and to not make it so available all the time. And that's so that it can continuously be the thing that leads me, as opposed to me shutting it down, running dry of my vitality, and then I got nothing to give. And so this season in my life right now is asking for me to be an artist, to honor Charlotte, to integrate her back into my being and be Blue and Charlotte and Shazzy and Charlie and all of the things, but to make sure that in the path of service, it's coming from wholeness, not coming from obligation. And I think that obligation energy has started to build because I'd spent 3.5 years building this podcast, because I have built an incredible audience, because I have invested so much money and time and energy into it, that it was getting to the place where I must keep going through obligation, but not because I actually have it in me right now to keep going and churning out free content. So this is just where I'm at right now. And I don't have all of the answers as to why, if, when, how. However, what I must always do is, once new insight has been delivered, take the time to integrate it, to check in multiple times that this is actually the closest thing to the truth as I can possibly get. And then from that place aligned action in my 3D reality that accustoms to that new change. And I'm learning what listening and hearing truly mean when it comes to the whispers of one's own heart in a world that's trying to tell you who to be, in a world that's trying to tell you what success is. When you start to create your own center of gravity from the center of your being, not something outside of you, and to listen to that and then have the courage to take action on it. So we've been on a journey with the podcast, and I don't know all of you individually. I don't know you, yes, you, listening to this right now in this moment, personally. But I can tell you that my life has become an essence of magic because of the decisions that have shifted into a closer place of the heart, because of your active participation in this podcast and the implementation of a piece of inspiration that you have learned into your life that has made you an inspiration to somebody else. I feel that every day. My life is blessed abundantly because of what you have implemented. And the reason why I say this is because I really believe that everything has to return to the place of origin in which the inspiration first stemmed from. So if there was a podcast episode that you heard that has inspired you, that has changed your life, that has changed your perspective on something, that has changed the way that you see the world, then that has to, by the law of karma, return to its place of origin. So if you went to your lover after a podcast you heard and decided to be a little bit more compassionate or a little bit more gentle, or you've learned to listen deeper, or you've actually just started by your day by making your bed and cleaning your room, that has to return to me somehow if this was where you received your inspiration. And I believe that over the last 3.5 years, there has been an exponential amount of inspiration that has flown out of this podcast through my guests, through the vulnerability, through the topics, through the relatability that has implemented into your life, that has in turn made my life extremely magical and abundant. And so there is this incredible reciprocity that happens, even if I'm sitting right now in the podcast studio with John and Bernadette, and what seemingly is a lifeless camera staring back at me right now. I am looking into the lens of a lifeless camera, yet I feel your heart. I feel your magic and your unique soul fingerprint and what it is that you're here to bring that nobody else on this planet can bring. I feel that. And I know in my heart that it's not going to be in our generation the next becoming of Christ. I don't believe that we're going to have one person that's going to come back with Christ consciousness and show us the way. I believe it's a body of humans. I believe it's a collective of like-minded humans that have decided that they're going to get curious enough with everything that doesn't feel like love, take ownership of the story we tell ourselves, to shift it through the alchemization of lead into gold and to live a life from that default. I believe it's those humans that are devoted to that are going to be the ones that are going to usher us into a new way of being and are going to be the mothers of a new type of human being born on this planet with an awareness so expanded that no system of control, no system of oppression, no ways of being that are being preached from outside of us are going to be able to control these children that are coming onto this planet. And so I am so excited that I have been able to been given one opportunity to have a platform to share a message that can be a place where we can receive our nectar and our nourishment. And so I'm going to be taking a pause from the podcast and producing the podcast so that I can really devote myself to this deck that is being created. What I mean by a deck, it is a tarot deck And it is the difference I find with a deck and a book is that you read a book once and then you put it on your shelf and you probably won't touch it again unless it's a really good book. But with a deck, it's a guide that gets to go with you through life, and it's the gift that keeps on giving anytime you'd like some clarity or guidance. And so for those that have really loved my prayers and have really resonated with my prayers, when you have a prayer book, you will have your own blue prayer book. And Lily is, I mean, if you don't know who Lily is yet and you haven't seen the episode with her, or if you haven't had her own Heavenly Bodies astrology deck, Lily Ashwell is one of the most, if not the most angelic human I have ever met in my entire life. And what flows out of that woman's hands, because it's a frequency of her heart, is pure gold. She is Topanga, and if not America, if not the world's most best kept secret. And I get to collaborate with her and pour our heart and soul into a creation that then can get in your hands and in your heart and in your home and on your altar, so that it can be the gift that keeps on giving, and be the place where you return to when you would like to have some guidance around a prayer or some clarity around a sense of direction that's happening in your life. And so I promise it'll be worth it, but I only have so much time and attention in the day, and I'd like to devote it to being an artist and to honor Charlotte right now during this season of my life. And so with all of that being said, it's not too late to join the 40 Days of Devotion Challenge. There is information on my Instagram. Ultimately, you can start at any point. It's coming into a devotional practice with your altar, or just a sacred space, or even just a candle. And it can be meditation, chanting, prayer, mantras, breath work, journaling, gratitude practice, singing, dancing, anything that's going to raise your presence or allow your presence to be more grounded in the moment. Drop you into a place of gratitude and raise your frequency into a place of play to start your day. After 40 days, watch your entire life change. Most people that do the 40 Days of Devotion Challenge end up just having the challenge for the rest of their lives, because it's no longer something that you're supposed to do. It's, why would I not do this? I feel amazing. It's like eating clean foods after eating junk food for a week. It's like your body can breathe. Well, this is like that for your soul. Feels like it can actually start to breathe and remember, I don't have to have all of the answers, and that's okay. I can actually pick up the telephone box to God and have a chat and just lay everything that's not serving me out onto the altar and let it go. I release the burdens of my heart and I hand it over to the Lord for full freedom of my soul. Now, replace those words. If you don't resonate with the word Lord, you can also just replace it with Spirit or Sky Daddy. We like that. Alrighty. So that is pretty much everything that I wanted to share with you today. And I just wanted to wrap up this podcast with, first and foremost, a big thank you. Thank you to Nicolette, who's been editing my podcast behind the scenes and has stepped in and has really shown up truly as an ally and a support system for this podcast to thrive and to be what it is today. Thank you, Nicolette. Thank you, Bernadette, for always showing up with a massive heart. She's the executive producer of the Deja Blu podcast, and she is my red-headed fiery queen of all things true. And thanks, Bernie. I must speak to the camera, but you're actually right there. Thanks, Bernie. And we've got John O'Brien in the house, and John O'Brien is we say executive assistant, but he's also just like king of operations. And he's also hanging out behind the scenes. These are the people that none of this would be possible without. So they don't get as much airtime as I do on their side, but they are equally as important. So thank you. And then of course we had Amy supporting with birthing the podcast on this iteration, and bring all of our dragon magic into the space to really support with getting everything very well structured and organized. And I'm just so grateful to each and every one of you for tuning in, for sharing the podcast, for being a part of this journey, for being with me through social media. And I mean, I've been on there for about a decade now, so this has been a full-on journey. And this episode is really just for those that are closest to the podcast, that resonate deeply with me. And Yeah, so grateful. So in classic Blue fashion, we're going to close out this episode with a prayer and just allow ourselves to be wrapped in some words from the heart as we go on this journey. I don't know when we'll be back with the podcast. I can't tell you when, but we will be back. Don't you worry about it. But most likely after the launch of the deck is when we'll be back. Yay! Alrighty, so as long as you're not driving a vehicle, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and just allow yourself to be fully present. The greatest thing that we can give is just our undivided presence and attention. What we put in is what we get out. And so we're just going to open up this prayer space. So closing your eyes, making sure your spine is straight. Your spine is your antenna, connected to something greater than you, connected to the ethers, allowing yourself to be like the great grandfather oak tree, rooted, grounded, steady, with those roots going right into the center of the earth to receive the most potent nutrient-dense nutrients from the soil, all the way up through your spine as the trunk of the tree out through the top of your head as the branches reaching to the cosmos and to the ethers. Grandmother Earth, Grandfather Sky, to all of our relations, to all of our ancestors, to those that have walked before us on this land in which we sit, on this land in which we live, on this land in which we thrive. We open up ourselves and our hearts to allow ourselves to listen. Not with our ears, not with our senses, but that realm that is beyond appearance. That realm where truth resides when we can become still enough to hear it. Every single person on this planet has a unique superpower that nobody else can bring. And may every single day we ask, how can we be of greatest service to the whole? And please reveal to me what is my unique puzzle piece that I can offer, recognizing what I am here to do is to unravel my uniqueness and share that uniqueness with the world. So any part of ourselves in our psyche, mentally, spiritually, physically, sexually, financially, multidimensionally, any part of our being that thinks we are supposed to be somewhere else right now, that thinks we are supposed to have more money, that we're supposed to have a better relationship, that we're not supposed to be single, that we're supposed to be doing something else, that we're not doing enough. Any part of our psyche that is not honoring the perfection of this moment, may we release it out of our beings. May we soften our bodies right now where there may have been tension or resistance. May we soften our body into the perfection of this moment, recognizing every single thing that happened in our life was forging you to be who you are right now. So can every 75 trillion cells of your body just for a moment say thank you? Our minds can get so caught up in what we don't have that we forget to acknowledge what we do. If it's merely a roof over your head and some food in your fridge, that is already so much more than so many. And if you were to say for the rest of your life just one thing every day, a genuine, heartfelt thank you, it would be enough. So right now, in this moment, can you allow yourself the compassion to accept yourself just the way you are? Thank you for this body. Thank you for this heart. Thank you for this life. Thank you for my 5 senses. Thank you for my ability to touch, to taste, to feel, to smell, to see, to hear. Thank you. And thank you for my extrasensory perception to be able to see beyond the illusion of everything that's been fed up until this point that is not rooted in truth. Thank you for my discernment to navigate through the sea of illusions and to cut away anything that is not in truth with compassion. You are exactly who we've been waiting for. You are the warriors of the rainbow, the bringers of the dawn, the tribe of light, the ones that are here to usher a new epoch and a new humanity, and it's found in your presence and your awareness and your breath and your love. And we may know not what the truth is every day, but we do know what love feels like. We do know what love feels like. And we welcome more of that in, and we welcome more of that out. Because it's why you're here. To remember every part of your being into wholeness. Because it already is. It already is. So softening your body, because the clarity and the awareness is born from a series of softenings. Softening into the genius that already is lying within you and has been since the moment you were born. And may we be shown how to be of greater service to the whole. For this generation, for the next generation, and for all of those that have been before us out of a place of respect. For all sentient life. For those that do not have enough food and water or basic human rights. And for those that have everything and have lost connection with their hearts. And for you, right now in this moment, hearing this prayer and feeling these words, for you, thank you for the miracle that you are. You're so loved. You are so, so loved by the cosmos. It's taken so much for you to be who you are. An unfathomable amount. Thousands of ancestors for you to be who you are. Thank you. May this prayer be heard and felt by all beings, all sentient life. And most importantly, by you. For the greatest good of all beings, across all timelines, across all dimensions, and across all of space. It is so, and so it is. Aho. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the podcast. It is truly an honor to be here of service to all of you. And I hold nothing but love in my heart for all that is here and all that is to come. Because when you unlock love in your heart, you become an asset into every single space you enter into, no matter where you are. It goes everywhere with you. So thank you for doing your part. I love you. And until next time, whenever that may be, sending you so much love.